There is one creature that roams the African savannah. It was mentioned 150 times in the Bible. It still, to this day, inspires awe when we see them. So I'm talking about the African lion. In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about how to photograph lion, things to watch in their behavior, and also some of my favorite destinations to photograph lions in Africa. I'm Darren Donovan, and I'm a C4 photo guide and host. And today I'm really excited to go on a journey into the African bush with you and talk about lions. All right, so one of the most important things when you're photographing lions is to take into consideration from a composition perspective what really brings lions out as far as their behavior goes, as far as really what draws you into the photograph. So there's a couple of things composition-wise that I think you would be wise to keep an eye on. One of the most important things when photographing any big cat, but particularly lions, is to wait and anticipate a moment of direct eye contact. When you have a cat like a lion or a leopard and it's looking directly at you with its ears pointed forward and it's got that piercing stare that goes into your soul, that's really something that transpires and really comes into a photograph. It draws your attention in and makes for a powerful, powerful image. Lions are also really good when it comes to backlighting. So if you have the opportunity to get around the lion so that the light is coming from the back, male lions in particular backlight really well. And the reason for that, they have lots of hair. And so that illumination, that highlighting that comes around creates a rim around the animal is something that really creates beautiful, beautiful imagery. So now we come down to one of the most important things of lion photography, and that is anticipating the behavior of lions. So quite often, and you hear it often from people and from guests, that lions just sleep all day. And they do. Lions sleep from 16 to 18 hours a day. That during the heat of the day, that's what they do. There's no point in them getting up. They use the darkness to hunt mostly, and will utilize those moments rather than waste energy on hunting at the wrong time of the day. But however, one of the things is you really want to invest time with lions. One of the first things that you'll notice with lions when they are going to get going is usually some of the subordinate individuals will get up and go and start head rubbing the more dominant females. So lions are a matriarchal society. And with that, the lead female is going to be the one that's going to be head rubbed the most because she is going to be the one that dictates when and in which direction the pride is going to start moving and getting going on the hunt. Usually there's a good 5 to 10, maybe even 15-minute period where there's social grooming, head rubbing, all of that, all the things that reinforce the social bonds within a lion pride are taking place just before they start getting going. After that, they'll start moving, and that's when your opportunities are going to be really good from a photographic perspective. But now you're going to get the opportunity to go ahead and have the pride walking toward, or have a lion walking toward the camera. So again, this is one of the things that you want to do, is you want to watch for that direct eye contact. So as the lions are moving, there's opportunities where they are walking towards you and they look up and you get that direct stare into your lens. That is what is going to create really good photography. So other things to watch out for, especially within the group dynamic, is if a male is with the pride. So the males, contrary to popular belief, do not all to spend all their time with the females. They actually go off and reinforce the pride boundaries most of the time. And when they get back, one of the first things they're going to do is they're going to test the urine of the females to see if any of their females are in estrus. Now, one of the shots you want to look out for here is when the males pull the flehmen grimace. With the flehmen grimace, what happens is that their lips curl and they get a grin on their face, teeth bared, and that is something that also just makes for a little bit more dramatic. But it's an interesting aspect of their social behavior. So when there's a male with the pride, this is one of the first things that you want to check for, is if the male gets up or if the female gets up to urinate, quite often the male is going to go and look to see if those females are in estrus. Which brings me on to the third thing, is mating lions. So in the sequence is that one female presents and she starts to then interact with the male. They go off on their separate journey away from the pride on their little honeymoon. And one of the things that you're then going to watch for, the female will walk and the male will follow behind her. Now, when mating takes place, it usually goes over 3 to 4 days. So on that first day, the mating is actually fairly painful for the female. So one of the things to watch out for that's really, really fun to photograph is as the male is busy with the procreation and busy mating, the female is starting to get hurt and she starts to growl. The male would then start to try and bite the back of her neck. And in that, trying to bite at the back of the neck, just before ejaculation takes place, the female then turns and she swipes at the male. And that is something that is very fun to photograph, where you get teeth, claws, saliva, all of that coming through on the frame. Just be very, very careful that when you're photographing this, you want to have a depth of field that allows for that movement. So you don't want to be as open as possible. You want to maybe be at around 7.1 or f8 with a shutter speed of at least 1,000. And you want to have width. Okay, you want to give the lions at least 20 to 30% extra in the frame to allow for that movement. So it's just one of those things just to take into consideration. All right, and another area that you really want to spend some time is when lions are feeding. Because even though they're social cats, and when there's no food around, they get on really well. When there is food, there's competition. And you will often have lions swatting at each other, growling at each other, snarling at each other. There are ways and means of shooting either wide to get the whole pride on the kill. But one of the things that I like to do is to really sort of get tight in. I focus on an individual. I see where the competition's taking place, and I focus on an individual, because from there's a chance that I'm going to get that shot where there's a snarl and the eyes are piercing, there's intent, the ears are flattened back. You can really see that aggression coming through within that. And it creates very dramatic imagery. So that's another area of lion photography that you really want to sort of concentrate on, is when they're feeding. All right, which brings me to some of my favorite places to photograph lions. So I'm taking into consideration a number of criteria. One, I'm taking the environment into consideration. One of the things you want with lions is, if you can, have nice open areas that you can really have a sense of the environment that the lions are in. All right, the second thing that I'm taking into consideration is the density of the lion population. So you're generally going to have better lion photography when there's a lot of lions around. Thirdly, unique behavior. So is the lion population in a specific area doing something different that other lions don't do? The fourth thing is any genetic variations. So there is a population that has a color variation, and it makes for very interesting photography as well. So number one on my list is the Masai Mara Serengeti ecosystem. 1.4 million animals on the march, migrating around that ecosystem all the time. There are times when there's going to be moments of absolute glut within these lions' territories. And if you're there at the right time, the photography can be incredible, because you're going to have lion populations interacting with a huge amount of animals. And so your potential for real action is going to be something that takes up there. So the Masai Mara Serengeti ecosystem is definitely one of my favorites for lion photography. Number two is the Okavango Delta. And so what you get that makes it particularly interesting in the Okavango Delta is the light is beautiful because of the dust in the atmosphere. So lions in this area will often, much like leopards, as you would have noticed in Shem's video on leopard photography, the Okavango Delta, the big cats like to use the termite mounds as vantage points. And so often you would find that the lions climb onto termite mounds to be able to get themselves above the grass and be able to look around. It gives you good opportunities to maneuver around, try for some backlighting with that gorgeous golden light, and see if you can get that beautiful direct eye contact. So number three on my list is Busanga Plains, right up in the north of the Kafue National Park in western Zambia. It is a huge 70,000 hectare floodplain. So massive, massive open areas. And these little rivers that interconnect on the entire floodplain. Lions here are forced to do interesting things. They're forced to jump across these little rivers. And they also give you really good photographic opportunities because the environment is so open. It is literally plains as far as the eye can see, flat plains. And so your opportunity to get photographs of lions small in the frame with this massive, wide floodplain ecosystem is just incredible. The lions here are also quite large. What's interesting about them is because for 8 months of the year, the area is essentially a waterlogged floodplain. The lions here have to move through these waters and mud all the time. So their forequarters are really big in comparison to other lions. But interestingly, as big as they are in their forequarters, they mostly feed on lechwe. So the lechwe population in Kafue supports a very large lion population. Here, because it's so open and because the lion are so plentiful, you get really good opportunities for lion interaction. So if the females kill a lechwe, it's only a matter of time before the male picks up on an opportunity for food. They don't hesitate, they come in and they take over. So Busanga Plains is a must for anybody that wants to photograph lions. Number 4 on my list is in Uganda. And it's an area in Uganda called the Shasha sector in the southern parts of the Queen Elizabeth National Park. Now, the reason that I've included this in the list is because it's one of the few places in Africa where lions are habitual tree climbers. So they will sleep in the trees. It's not unusual to find a pride of 15, 20 lions in one big fig tree, draped across the branches. So it is really something unique and something interesting that you find within the Shasha sector. A couple of honorable mentions, some other places where the lion photography is really good, and I've had some really good luck in my time. Mashatu in the Tuli block in Botswana. The Greater Kruger National Park is one that probably should be on the list because of the color variation. In the central parts of the Kruger National Park, you have a genetic lion that has the natural white lion population, especially around the Timbavati area, the Manyaleti area, and then around the Satara section of the Kruger National Park. This concludes my video on lions and lion photography, where to photograph them, and just a couple of tips on things that you may find interesting and will help you in getting more dynamic and more interesting lion photos. Until next time, if you've enjoyed this, please like and subscribe to the channel. And again, just have a look at Shem's video on leopard photography. Very insightful and some interesting things to take into consideration. But until next time, my name is Darren Donovan, and I do hope that you've enjoyed the video.